The screaming metal and shattering glass still echoed in her ears. 12-year-old Mira, trembling and pale, sat on the hospital bed staring at the empty space where her hands used to be. The world around her had tilted, cracked, and collapsed in a single night. She remembered the headlights, the sudden spin, the crushing weight, and then darkness. When she woke up, her mother was gone forever. And Mira, once the girl who painted, built school projects, and dreamed of being an engineer, had lost both hands. She didn't cry loudly. She cried silently, with her shoulders shaking and her breath breaking in pieces. Outside the room, her father Rafik leaned against the wall with his head in his hands. He was a mechanic, earning just enough to keep a roof overhead. He could fix engines, rebuild gearboxes, and nurse dead machines back to life. But he couldn't fix this. He couldn't fix his little girl's missing hands. The first challenge, hope, was too heavy to carry. When Mira came home after the accident, everything felt wrong. The house was quieter. Her mother's laughter was gone. And every simple act, buttoning a shirt, holding a spoon, tying her hair, became a mountain. Rafik tried to help. He tried everything. But he didn't know how to help her smile again. One evening he found her on the floor of her room, trying to pick up a pencil with her arms. She kept dropping it. Again. And again. And again. Finally she whispered, "Baba. I can't even draw anymore." Rafik swallowed hard, forcing back tears. He knelt beside her and said the only thing he could. "We'll find a way. I promise." But inside, he didn't know how. The spark that changed everything. 2 weeks after the accident, a charity donated simple plastic prosthetics, non-moving, stiff, and painful. They didn't fit Mira. They bruised her skin. She couldn't use them to hold anything. After trying them for 2 days, she pushed them away and said, "I don't want fake hands. I want real ones." Rafik stayed up late that night at the workshop, staring at an unfinished motorcycle engine. His hands were dirty with grease, but his mind was racing. Machines moved. Machines obeyed signals. Machines could be built. He whispered to himself, "What if I build her hands?" It was impossible. It was insane. He had no training in robotics, no money, no advanced parts. But Mira needed more than a father. She needed someone who believed the impossible for her. That night, the idea became a mission. The second challenge, building dreams with empty pockets. Rafik didn't sleep. Every spare minute, after working 10 hours at the garage, he spent learning. He borrowed old engineering books from a retired professor in the neighborhood. He watched free online tutorials on a scratched phone screen. He studied wires, sensors, microcontrollers, and servo motors. He failed dozens of times. Sparks flew from short circuits. Motors jammed. Wires burned. Some nights he slammed his fist into the table from pure frustration. But then he remembered Mira. Her small shoulders. Her quiet tears. Her empty sleeves. And he kept going. Money was another battle. Good components were expensive. So Rafik scavenged scrap yards. He collected broken appliances. He pulled apart old printers and washing machines. Every wire, screw, and motor was saved like treasure. Slowly, very slowly, a pair of robotic arms began to take shape. The third challenge, Mira loses hope. One afternoon, Mira overheard neighbors saying, "Poor girl. She'll never live a normal life. Her father should accept reality. She's disabled forever." That night, Mira refused to eat. She stared at her small, bandaged arms and whispered to her father, "Why are you still trying, Baba? I'm broken." Rafik knelt before her, his hands shaking from exhaustion and days of sleepless nights. "You are not broken," he said, voice cracking. "Your hands may be gone, but your heart isn't. Your dreams aren't. And I'm building something for you. Something that will help you live again." Mira looked at him with wet eyes. "Will I ever draw again?" Rafik didn't promise blindly. He didn't lie. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But I will try until my last breath." For the first time in weeks, Mira leaned against him and cried into his chest. And hope, tiny and fragile, returned. The breakthrough. 3 months passed. The robotic arms were still imperfect, but they moved. Sensors responded to muscle signals. Finger joints flexed. Circuit boards were stable. Rafik had built something extraordinary in a small, dusty garage with almost no tools. When he attached the prototype to Mira for the first time, she gasped. The robotic fingers twitched, shaky and slow, but they moved. "Baba," she whispered, "they're alive." They trained every day. Mira practiced picking up marbles, stacking blocks, holding soft cloth. She failed 100 times. But on the 101st, she succeeded. Rafik clapped and wiped his face, pretending they were sweat tears. Mira laughed, the sound he thought he had lost forever. The final test: can she draw again? One evening, Rafik placed a sketchbook on the table. Mira froze. "Try," he said gently. "Just try once." Her robotic fingers moved slowly, trembling as they wrapped around a pencil. She bent closer, lowering the tip to the page. A line appeared. Shaky. Uneven. Crooked. But it was a line, made by her. Mira burst into tears. "I can draw. Baba, I can draw again." Rafik hugged her tightly, trembling from relief and pride. "You can do anything." A new beginning. A local journalist later heard the story. Soon, videos of Mira using her robotic arms spread online. Engineers, nonprofits, and universities reached out to help upgrade the design. Rafik was invited to collaborate on low-cost prosthetics for children. The garage mechanic who once felt powerless became the reason hundreds of kids received hope again. But for him, the greatest achievement wasn't fame or recognition. It was seeing his daughter sketch a picture of her family, herself, her mother smiling in the clouds, and Rafik standing beside her. Under the drawing, Mira wrote, "Broken hands, but unbroken hope." Inspiring message for viewers. This story is a reminder that miracles are not always made in laboratories or high-tech offices. Sometimes they are built by tired hands in small garages, by parents who refuse to surrender, and by children who keep fighting even when the world doubts them. Hope is not about having everything. Hope is about refusing to give up, no matter how broken life becomes. The morning sun spilled softly through the cracked windows of their small home, drawing gold lines across the floor. Mira sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her robotic arms resting beside her. They were sleeker now, upgraded with help from engineers who had reached out after seeing her story online. The fingertips were coated with a rubber-like material that allowed for better grip. The joints were smoother, less jerky, more natural. Still, the day ahead terrified her. Today was her first day back at school. Her heart thudded like a drum against her ribs. She kept imagining the stares, the whispers, the questions. Most of all, she feared the pity, the look she hated most. Rafik entered quietly, carrying her school uniform. "You'll be okay," he said gently. Mira tried to smile, but her voice trembled. "What if they laugh? What if I can't do anything?" Rafik knelt beside her, pulling her into a soft embrace. "Beta, you survived something most people could never bear. If anyone laughs, it's because they don't understand your strength." He tapped her metal wrist affectionately. "These are not just arms. They're proof that you didn't give up." Mira nodded, inhaling deeply. She slipped on the uniform, tightened the straps of her robotic arms, and stood up straighter than she felt inside. Returning to a world that had moved on without her. The school gate looked bigger than before. Or maybe she felt smaller. Kids stopped mid-sentence when she walked in. Their eyes dropped to her robotic arms, then flicked quickly away. Some whispered. Some stared openly. A few smiled awkwardly. Mira kept her chin up, though she felt the weight of every gaze. Her best friend, Aisha, ran to her with wide eyes. "Mira. You came back." Aisha hugged her carefully, and Mira felt a wave of relief wash over her. But the day wasn't easy. In the classroom, Mira struggled to hold her books. The robotic digits needed more practice. A few students giggled when she dropped her pencil for the third time. The teacher calmly picked it up each time, offering no extra attention, just respect. During lunch, a group of boys whispered loudly. She's half robot now. Maybe she can punch through walls. Look at those hands, creepy. The words cut deeper than knives. Mira stared at the table, fighting the urge to run home. She wished she could hide her arms inside long sleeves, wished she could become invisible. But Aisha gently nudged her. Don't listen to them. They're scared of people who are stronger than they are. Mira lifted her head slowly. Maybe Aisha was right. Maybe courage wasn't loud, it was quiet, shaking, but still standing. The challenge that changed everything. After school, the teacher, Miss Sana, asked Mira to stay back. I have a small idea, she said warmly. Tomorrow is Innovation Day. Students will display their projects. Would you like to show how your arms work? Mira froze. Me. In front of everyone. Miss Sana nodded. You're not just a student returning to school, Mira. You're someone who overcame something extraordinary. Let the others see the real you, not what they assume. That night, Mira told Rafiq. Instead of reacting with fear, he broke into a proud smile. You should do it, he said. Not for them, for yourself. And so, Mira practiced. For 2 hours, she picked up different objects, books, pencils, a cup of water, learning the strengths and limits of her robotic hands. She practiced writing her name, holding a marker, moving slowly, carefully. She failed at least 30 times. But she succeeded enough to erase her doubts. Rafiq watched her with a full heart, the same pride shining in his eyes that he had felt the day she drew her first shaky line. Innovation Day, the moment of truth. The next morning, the school courtyard buzzed with excitement. Stalls were decorated with colorful charts, models of volcanoes, solar systems, and handmade inventions. But all eyes turned when Mira stepped onto the small stage. Her robotic arms gleamed under the sunlight. For a moment, silence covered the entire courtyard like a blanket. Mira inhaled deeply. Her voice trembled as she began. My name is Mira. 3 months ago. I lost my hands in an accident. My father built these robotic arms for me, so I could live again. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Students leaned forward. Teachers froze mid-step. Mira lifted a pencil between her robotic fingers and began to draw a small flower on a white sheet of paper. The movements were slow, but steady. The lines were clean, delicate, beautiful. The courtyard erupted with applause. Boys who mocked her earlier stared with wide eyes. Some clapped shyly. A few even looked ashamed. But Mira didn't care about them anymore. She felt something rising inside her, strength, courage, pride. When she stepped off the stage, students surrounded her with admiration. Some asked questions. Some complimented her bravery. A little girl whispered, "You're my hero." For the first time since the accident, Mira walked with her head high. A dream takes root. That evening, when she came home, she ran straight into her father's arms. Baba. I did it. They clapped for me. Rafiq laughed with genuine joy, lifting her slightly off the ground. I knew you could. I always knew. Mira pulled back and said something she had never said before. I want to become an engineer like Mama planned. I want to build things, maybe even better arms for kids like me. Rafiq felt tears prick his eyes. Her dream wasn't broken after all. It had simply changed shape, just like her hands. He placed a gentle hand on her head and said, "Then we'll build your future together." Mira smiled, looking down at her robotic fingers, strong, steady, and full of promise. Her mother's absence still hurt. The scars still ached. But her hope was alive again. She wasn't the girl who lost her hands anymore. She was the girl who found a new purpose. And this was only the beginning.